Hi, and thank you for joining me for day 18 of 30 Days of Sketches with Christie's Beautiful Life. Today's sketch you can see in the top right hand corner there is designed by Marcia Dehn-nix. I'll leave her details in the description box down below. And you can see I put the sketch in the top right hand corner there that Marcia has put a beautiful big sunburst at the top of her page. It looks like her page is 8.5 by 11. I'm doing 12 by 12. And I wanted to create the sunburst using a technique that you will have seen me using before if you've watched my videos. Just using a scrap piece of cardstock as my edge to create the rays of the sunburst. So I made a pencil mark at the bottom of the page underneath where my photos are going to go, and that's my focal point for where the rays will come from. So just using my fossilised amber Distress Oxide ink and going round with my dauber, creating these sun rays. And it's a really nice technique to use if you want to create a lovely big, or indeed small, but it's great for doing a big sunburst without worrying about your stencil not being big enough. So as I say, just working my way all the way around the page, starting at the bottom and creating this huge sunburst. And I've chosen photos from our holiday last year. These are the last two photos now from our holiday last year. It was the only ones that I took when we were at the beach. So I just wanted to get these documented, and I thought that this sketch was the perfect one to use. So I'm going to use Simple Stories Boho Sunshine again. I really do love this collection. All the elements are perfect for summertime photos, but as you've seen if you've watched previous videos, it works brilliantly for other events as well, not just for the summer. So I'm going to create the little shelf across the bottom. Marcia has used fishtail banners, but I'm just going to use some torn strips. A torn strip, and then I'm also going to use what's left of the scalloped edge from the 12 by 12 sticker sheet. So first of all, just trimming off this piece of paper, and I love this one. It's a pale pink with the beautiful suns on it. So again, just thought this would work really nicely. So just going to cut it down to size with my trimmer and then get that adhered down onto the page. And I wanted to bring some black into this layout just to make the colours pop, because I'm using fairly pale colours for the rest of the embellishments. So I will bring some black in. So there's that border strip, the scallop border strip that I was talking about from the 12 by 12 sticker sheet. And I'm just wetting the edge of the torn paper so that I can curl up the edges, and that will set it once it's dry. And I've also splattered water all over my sunburst, and I'm going to mop that up in a minute with some paper towel, and that will just create a mottled effect on those sunbeam rays that I really like. So just curling up these edges now, and then I can get this stuck down. And once that's down, I'm going to add the first bit of the black that I was talking about. So I'm going to bring in some of my black wax twine. We sell that at Hey Little Magpie if you need some. And I'm just going to add 3 long stitches from side to side across this torn piece of paper. First of all, distressing the edges with my Distress Edge tool. And then I'm just checking that I'm happy with the curling of that torn edge, and then I shall stick that down using my Sticks 2 tape runner just to hold it in place. So here's that black wax twine that I was talking about, and I'm just going to poke 3 holes on either side of the strip and then stitch that through. So just cutting off plenty, and I'll thread that onto my needle. Just a wide holed embroidery needle works really nicely. And then I'll just add a tiny bit of tape on the back to secure that in place. So down into the first hole, and then back up on the same side so as not to waste the thread. You don't need to add any of the thread at the back. So then down into one of the holes here and back up on the same side again. And that's the 3 stitches done. So just securing that in place with tape. And I love how that just adds a bit of texture at the bottom and also brings that pop of black in. So here are my photos. I'm going to map those onto some of the papers that I've got left from this collection. I've used quite a lot of it, but there's still plenty left, and lots of stickers left still. So you'll see me using it again and again. I do love it, and I am tempted to get some more of the papers actually. I shouldn't really, because there are always new collections coming out, aren't there? But I really have thoroughly enjoyed this one. So just distressing the edges of these photo mats and then adhering the photos down to them. Bringing in this yellow now. I think that's why I love this collection so much, because there are a lot of tone-on-tone patterns that I really enjoy without being the papers being too fussy. These tend to be the B-sides of the Simple Stories papers, and I think that's why I love them so much, because I do tend to go for fairly simple patterns, if you like. They work so nicely for matting photos. So there's one layer on each, and now I'm just coming in with some of my little bits that I've got left over, just the offcuts, and these are great for layering up behind photos without using too much paper. So this was the piece that I cut off the end of that shelf that I've created at the bottom of the layout. So just slotting the two photos together. They're going to be overlapped slightly, so just seeing what else I can bring in. And I want a strip of this piece down the right hand side, because this is the photo I've matted with that yellow polka dot, so just bringing some of this colour in as well. And I think that's it. Yep, so just going to stick them down with my Sticks 2 tape runner. Don't need loads of adhesive, just enough to keep them in place. Overlapping them slightly. And now I can start embellishing. So first of all, bringing in some JD3DPrint pieces from a summer kit that James created last year, a bucket and a beach ball. This is one of our new fabric tabs, and it just says hi, but I like the colours with this collection. You can see I just went over with my tape runner a bit, so just rubbing some of that tape off again. And there's also a Flair badge at the bottom right hand corner. I will swap that out actually for a different one, but I know I want a Flair badge at the bottom there. So now going in with some of these foam stickers. First of all, the little title that says "You Are My Sunshine," and it's a picture of the two kids there, so I thought that would work nicely. And then this lovely smiley sun, and then I've got the JD3DPrint sun as well, so they're layering up nicely there. And that's where I switched out that Flair badge. I decided I wanted a different one. And now I'm just bringing in some of our new suede smiley faces. We sell these at Hey Little Magpie again, and they're gorgeous, just to add a little bit of something. So I've got a round yellow one on the left hand side, a square yellow one on the right hand side, and a blue one on the right hand side as well. So this sun is from the 12 by 12 sticker sheet, you can see there, and I think about popping it up at the top there, but then decide that it works nicely on the right hand side here next to that bucket. And I'm just pulling out all beachy, summery embellishments. So there's the little sunglasses, and I like those. So just layering those up onto that beach ball and adding a foam pad on the left hand side just to keep it raised up, because obviously the beach ball is 3D. That star is one of the Hey Little Magpie stars as well from our Bits and Pieces collection. Just a knitted star, and it works really nicely. It looks almost like a starfish, doesn't it? So I like that. I'm just gluing it all the bits down that I've pulled out so far. Just working my way around the page, and the bits that I know that that's where they're going to stay, I'm adding down. Those lovely suede pieces. And now these are the Hey Little Magpie printables that have been designed to go with the Boho Sunshine collection. So I'm just cutting out one of the tags, the labels. I love using labels to tuck underneath my photos. So just pulling out a large yellow one here to tuck down that left-hand side. And then I see the flip-flops, so decide that they will work nicely there on that left-hand cluster. And then one of the 1¼ inch circles, and that will just act as a staging point for those flip-flops. So just tucking that underneath. I'm just working out if there's anything else I want to bring in, and then I see this happy Flair badge, and I think that will work nicely, so just adding that underneath those flip-flops, and that creates a nice bit of dimension for those flip-flops to sit on. So now gluing down that Flair badge at the bottom there. Adding a bit of foam underneath the bottom part because it's layered up onto quite a few layers, so it makes sense to raise it up. Just fiddling about with these suede pieces and getting those stuck down. So now coming back in with the sticker sheet to see what else I can add. And there's this little flower. It's just bringing that cluster out nicely across the bottom of the page. And then because I've added one on the left-hand side for balance, I wanted to add something on the right. So I found a black and white one and then another black and white one there on the left. And I'm wondering at this stage what to do at the top of my layout, because I feel that it's quite plain compared to all the clutter at the bottom. So I decided to bring out my Ellie Studio Stitch in Stitches stamp, or it's, is that what it's called? It's the Stitches stamp anyway. It's wonderful. So I'm just going to add some black archival ink in these various stitch stamps along the edges of the sunburst. So first of all, pulling out this long one, my archival ink, and I shall go straight across this one. And I don't do it right on the edge, it's sort of slightly inside the sunburst ray. I just like how that looks. And then another one here. And then I'm going to switch out for a different stamp. I like having all the different shapes and styles on my layout, so here's a zigzag one, and I just ink up enough of the stamp to put down where I want it to go. There's no point in adding ink to the top because it goes right off the page, so that's there. And then the smaller one that I'd added to the block earlier, and I'm just inking up 3 of those crosses just to add a little bit of extra texture and dimension to the lines that I've added so far. And now I'm inking up the entire stamp to add a big row of the crosses here. So just looking to see what else there is, and I noticed that there are these little sort of end. Oh, first of all, it's this stripy piece, which I love. I've had a Simple Stories stamp with this similar texture on, and I just think it adds so much to a layout. I really like this one, so I must remember to pull this out and use that again. Just adding that in a couple of places, and then I think I'm done, and that's when I see the little finishing pieces. There are just 2 where it looks like it's the thread just sort of tied off on the end of the row, so I'm just going to add this in a couple of places as well. So one there, and I love the shape that this brings to those straight lines. It was just what I needed. So once I've used that one, I decide to add the other one as well, just for variation. And this is more just a plain one, just 2 lines. So adding it here, and then to the bottom there. And that's it. So that's the stamping finished. So now I'm just going through the sticker book to see what else I can find. Find this little peace sign, which works nicely in this cluster. And then this one just says BU, so I layer that up onto the bucket. And then I see the alphabet stamps, and I think it would be nice to put, there are a couple of beaches on Herm Island that we use, so I thought I wanted to make sure that I marked that this was Shell Beach. So just writing that down, overlapping the letters and fitting it onto that little shelf at the bottom there. Now using my roller date stamp to add the date. Again, just ghosting around the date as well. A little tab at the top here with a sun again. And it's at this point that I realise that this sun isn't glued down, so I glue that down, and I spot that I've got a dot of glue on my photo, just below where I'm putting this My Sunshine. So I'm just going to layer up some words across the top of that photo. That's where the glue is. I'm trying to pull it off and realise that it's made a mess. So I'm going to pull out a couple more stickers, this one that says Sunkissed, and then one that says High Tides and Good Vibes. And that just covers that up. It's just blank space on the photo anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But it was a little frustrating. But you can always cover up mistakes, can't you? Nobody would ever know. So just one final bit now, adding some splatters, and that's it. So do check the description box down below for everybody else joining in on this hop. There's a playlist where everybody's videos are. Thank you so much for joining me, and I shall see you again tomorrow for day 19. Thanks so much. Bye.